Man, I came here to win rings, not babysit anyone.
That one statement just broke the Lakers. While everyone was watching the Kings beat them on January 13th, the real disaster was happening in the tunnel. Insiders say a fight broke out between Rich Paul and Austin Reeves' agent over a plot to trade Reeves just to keep Bronny in the rotation. Oh, but it gets deeper. LeBron and JJ Redick allegedly also clashed in the back, and the vets have officially started targeting Bronny as the problem. However, the craziest part is that every bit of this drama traces back to a message Bronny sent to the team group chat that changed everything. But before we talk about the leaked message, let's talk about what actually went down on January 13th, 2026. Because on paper, the Lakers had just lost to the Sacramento Kings, 124-112. It was a mess. But the real madness started the second they headed for the tunnel. The tension was so thick you could basically feel it through the screen. And look, normally these guys keep the drama behind closed doors, right? But not this time. According to everyone on the ground, we're talking witnesses, and guys like ESPN's Dave McMenamin, Reggie Berry was already waiting. And if you don't know Berry, he's the powerhouse from AMR Agency who represents Austin Reeves. And he wasn't there to grab a post-game smoothie, he was waiting for Rich Paul. Can you imagine being a fan in the front row and watching two of the most powerful agents in sports literally going at it while the players weren't even in the locker room yet? But here's why Berry was actually losing his mind. See, Reeves is coming up on a $200 million max contract. That is life-changing, legacy-defining money. And Berry is basically accusing Rich Paul of trying to sabotage Reeves just to keep Bronny James in the rotation. How does Bronny even come into this, you ask? And how is Rich Paul sabotaging Reeves, especially since he's been out for a while due to an injury? Well, we'll get to that in a bit. Because here is where things get truly crazy. As security was pulling the agents apart, something even worse was happening behind the locker room doors. Apparently, the agents fighting was just a distraction. Wait until you hear what happened when LeBron finally cornered JJ Redick and exposed the hidden agreement in Redick's contract that Luka was never supposed to find out about. This is where it all connects. Because to understand why these two grown men were almost throwing hands in a tunnel, we have to go back to November 15th, the night LeBron changed the franchise forever. This was the night the Lakers played the Bucks, and honestly, the box score was a total lie. On the surface, it looked like a massive win. Luka went off with 41 points and led the Lakers to a victory. But if you look at the rotation, that's where you see the real disaster. Bronny James actually started that game, but he was on the court for only 10 minutes. He went 0 of 2 from the field, 0 points, and 0 impact. And look, at this level, that's more than just a bad night. It's a burden on the entire team. Every minute Luka has to spend out there being dragged down by Bronny is a minute he's losing on his MVP run. Think about it. Luka is 26, he's in his absolute prime, and he's being asked to drag a legacy project across the finish line every single night. It's not just about the stats, it's about the energy. When you're playing at an MVP level, you expect the guys next to you to be at least functional. But with Bronny on the floor that night, the Lakers' net rating plummeted to a minus 14.2. That is a staggering number for a team that actually won the game. It proves that the Lakers weren't winning with Bronny, they were winning despite him. So, Redick finally hit his limit during that game, and insiders say he completely lost his cool on the sidelines, literally screaming at Bronny to shoot the ball before benching him for the rest of the night. That was the moment the silent agreement broke. See, the rumor in the league is that LeBron basically handpicked Redick for this job on one condition. The condition is that Bronny plays when Luka is on the court. Redick was supposed to silently train him in real games alongside Luka to position him as the future of the Lakers. It was a developmental project disguised as a title run. But when Redick saw the Bucks starting to exploit Bronny on every single possession, his coaching instinct took over. He realized he couldn't protect the project and win the game at the same time. But after that Bucks game, Luka officially went rogue. He sat down for an interview and basically told the world he was done playing along. He said he's here to win rings, not babysit anyone, and if someone wants to develop, they need to go to the G League.
Man, I came here to win rings, not babysit anyone.
That one comment turned the locker room into a war zone. LeBron wasn't even playing that night because of his sciatica, but he reportedly went full Papa Bear mode anyway, screaming at Redick in the back for breaking the arrangement. This wasn't just a disagreement, it was the birth of Team Luka versus Team Clutch. So, immediately Rich Paul saw that LeBron's leverage was slipping away. He went on the offensive. If Luka wasn't going to help develop Bronny, Rich Paul decided he'd start pulling the strings to show Luka who really runs the Lakers. He didn't suggest trading Bronny. That would be too obvious and would look like a failure. Instead, on the 13th of January, the same night the Lakers lost to the Kings, he went on his Game Over podcast and took shots at the one person Luka actually liked on the team, Austin Reaves. Paul started calling Reaves an asset instead of a teammate, and argued that if the Lakers wanted to save Luka's defense, they had to trade Reaves for a defensive anchor like Jaren Jackson Jr.
If I was the Lakers, I would probably be targeting the Memphis Grizzlies as a trade partner
For?
Jaren Jackson.
Yeah. That'd be a great fit.
I would
For whom?
one scenario, right? Or you could say, let me withhold that, but this comes with
Austin Reaves.
This comes with a very unemotional attachment.
It was a straight-up blackmail move. He was essentially telling Luka that if he didn't start falling in line and accepting Bronny, his best friend was going to be shipped out of Los Angeles. It was a move designed to isolate Luka and strip him of his allies. Think about the psychological game here. Rich Paul and LeBron were essentially saying, "We control your environment. We decide who stays and who goes." They were trying to force Luka's hand into becoming a mentor for Bronny by threatening to take away a person who made playing in Los Angeles enjoyable for him. That was what led to the altercation between Rich Paul and Reggie Berry in the tunnel, later that same night. Reggie Berry wasn't going to allow Rich Paul to use Austin Reaves as a pawn in their sick game, but what Rich Paul didn't realize was that the tension was already way deeper than a podcast comment. Luka was already sitting on a secret that made him lose all respect for the James family months ago. He wasn't just annoyed by the playing time, he felt betrayed, and it all goes back to a single leaked message Bronny sent to the team group chat that proved this was never about basketball. It was always a vanity project for the James family. And the contents of that message? Well, it wasn't just a leak. It was the ultimate proof that the Lakers were being run as a family business, not a basketball team. And wait until you see what it did to the relationship between LeBron and his best friend, Anthony Davis. Look, if you think the tunnel fight this January was just about one bad game, you're missing the entire movie. To find the actual moment the Lakers started collapsing from within, you have to go back to February 1st, 2025. That's the day the NBA landscape shifted forever. The day the Luka for Davis trade went from a no-way rumor to a done deal. But it's not just the trade that matters, it's how the players found out. According to the book A Hollywood Ending by Yaron Weitzman, the trade was supposed to be a top-secret front office move to protect the locker room. The players were supposed to hear about it directly from the front office, but instead, Bronny James reportedly saw the Shams Charania tweet and immediately sent it into the team group chat. Imagine being Anthony Davis. You've given this franchise a ring, your body is beat up from carrying the defense, and you find out you're being shipped to Dallas because a rookie, who happens to be your buddy's son, dropped a link in the chat. Davis's response was cold.
I can't believe this, man. They just traded me to the worst franchise in NBA history.
LeBron also reacted and dropped a "what the heck" text, but don't get it twisted. He wasn't just surprised. He was panicking because he didn't just lose his best friend, his number 2 man, and a defensive anchor in Davis. He got a superstar in Luka that he now had to share the spotlight with in return. LeBron has spent 20 years being the undisputed son of the NBA solar system, and suddenly, the Lakers brought in a 25-year-old superstar who is better than LeBron in every way possible. This is where the hate started. LeBron was hoping that after he retired, the Lakers spotlight would naturally transition to Bronny. But Luka's arrival nuked that plan. You can't market a prince when there's a king in his absolute prime already sitting on the throne. Right now, Luka is the NBA's leading scorer at 33.6 points per game, putting up historic numbers every night, and yet the Lakers are barely a .500 team. Why? Because of nepotism. When Luka and Bronny share the floor, the Lakers' net rating cratered to a -14.2. Think about that. You have the best offensive player on the planet being dragged into the abyss because the roster is clogged with Bronny James. Luka is out here working 10x harder than anyone else, playing heavy minutes, just to facilitate a father-son vanity project. You have to understand Luka's DNA to see why this makes him sick. Luka didn't get a handout path to the league. He turned pro at 13 years old in Madrid. He was playing against grown men with families to feed while he was still a middle schooler. He has zero patience for people who didn't earn their spot. In Luka's mind, if you can't play, you don't stay. Even the legends see it. Charles Barkley went on Inside the NBA and absolutely flamed the situation.
They're going to move on, and I think that's the right thing to do. At some point, you got to turn the team over to Luka and Austin, and that's the only way you can start, because you can't be paying him $50 million a year to be the third best player on a team.
That statement hit LeBron where it hurts, especially since he has never been a third option. Not in Miami, and definitely not in Cleveland. But now that Luka is the undisputed alpha, LeBron is reportedly using Bronny's minutes as a tool for control. It's like he's saying, I might not be the best player anymore, but I still own the rotation. But if you think this was just about playing time or ego, you're wrong. This beef is personal, and it's been simmering for years. Wait until I show you the footage from November 2025, the moment LeBron actually refused to shake Luka's hand. See, LeBron James isn't just striving to be the greatest of all time on the court. He wants to be the CEO of the entire culture, which is weird, but I mean, it's LeBron, so nothing can be surprising anymore. However, in 2020, that massive ego took a hit it still hasn't recovered from. And it's all because Luka Doncic told him no to his face. See, back in 2020, LeBron was pitching Nike on a dream, Team LeBron. He wanted his own sub-brand, a kingdom built in his image just like Jordan. He never understood that he and Jordan were cut from different cloth. So in his bid to compete with MJ's legacy, he tried to get Nike to give him his own brand, and he only had one person in mind to be the face of that: Luka Doncic. LeBron actually went on podcasts and interviews announcing it. He saw Luka's unselfish game and thought he could own it. He thought he could buy the future.
I wanted Luka to be the first signee of Team LeBron when he was going through his situation. And it didn't happen. He's still under the same umbrella of Nike's with Jordan, but I wanted him.
But Nike moved too slow. And to be honest, Luka wasn't interested in working with LeBron. Because as a player and as a person, everyone knows Luka is more inclined to work with Michael Jordan due to how similar they are. In fact, if anyone in the league right now could have a legacy as strong as MJ, it'd be Luka Doncic. So, instead of joining Team LeBron, Luka went and signed a massive deal with the Jordan brand. Think about how that sits with a guy like LeBron. He spent 20 years chasing Michael Jordan's ghost, trying to catch the 6 rings and the global status. And the one kid he wanted as an ambassador for his brand didn't just decline, he went and joined the competition. LeBron later admitted that Luka picking Jordan over him would haunt him a little bit.
I feel like it's going to haunt me a little bit.
It's going to haunt you.
But I wanted him to be my guy. I wanted him to be my first guy.
Well, it's 2026 now, and that haunting has turned into straight-up hostility. Luka is the undisputed alpha of the Lakers, dropping 33.6 points per game and leading the league in scoring, all while wearing Michael Jordan's brand on his feet. Every time Luka hits a step-back 3 in Staples Center, LeBron has to look at the logo of the man he's still trying to catch. But if you want the receipts of how much that hit LeBron, look at this footage from late November 2025. After a whistle, Luka walks right toward LeBron and puts his hand out for a simple teammates-only low 5. It's the most basic interaction in basketball. LeBron looks him dead in the eyes, sees the hand, and completely ignores it out of spite. That wasn't a missed handshake. That was 5 years of rejection and ego bruising finally boiling over. LeBron isn't looking at a protege anymore. He's looking at the guy who rejected his brand and then took over his team. It's not just a basketball rivalry. It's a $100 million grudge that neither of them is willing to let go. But as cold as that handshake snub was, it wasn't the only time LeBron has passive-aggressively thrown shots at Luka over the years. See, LeBron James is currently the highest-paid third option in the history of sports. And honestly, he's acting like it. By late last year, the vibe in LA didn't just shift, it fell off a cliff. For the first time in 23 years, LeBron's usage rate hit a career low, hovering around 28%. For context, that's basically the basketball equivalent of a demotion, and if you've followed LeBron for more than 5 minutes, you know he doesn't do sidekick. Instead of just playing his role and letting the best 26-year-old on the planet lead, LeBron started a straight-up guerrilla war in the media. Every single post-game press conference was a masterclass in being a victim. He'd sit there at the podium, leaning into the mic, and talk about how much he's sacrificing and bending his game for the sake of the team. It's the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. He's basically telling the world, yeah, Luka's putting up 33.6 points per game, but he's only doing it because I'm allowing him to. It's an absolute joke. He's trying to frame playing with a generational talent as some kind of charity work he's doing out of the kindness of his heart. But the real moment it became clear was after the altercation with Redick, when he got on an ESPN interview and said, and I quote, "If we're depending on a 41-year-old to be our best defender, we're in trouble." Talk about zero self-awareness. That wasn't a comment about the team. It was a direct, pointed shot at Luka's defense. He was basically calling the MVP of the league lazy to his face while the cameras were rolling. But here's the hilarious part. LeBron is out here trying to play defensive coordinator, while his own son is statistically the biggest defensive liability in the NBA. Let's look at the actual numbers because they're embarrassing. Bronny's defensive rating during that stretch was 120.5. Bronny was getting cooked on every single possession in his limited 7.5 minutes. Yet LeBron has the audacity to take shots at Luka? Luka is out there playing 38 minutes a night, carrying the entire offense, and covering for a rookie who shouldn't even be in the rotation, only to have that rookie's dad trash him to the media. It's disgusting. And look, this Papa Bear routine is getting dangerous. LeBron has been bullying people for years to protect the James family brand, but what happened on March 6, 2025 at Madison Square Garden was some actual mob boss energy. Stephen A. Smith did his job. He gave an honest critique of Bronny on First Take. He pointed out the obvious: the kid is 0 for 7 and belongs in the G League. But guess what LeBron did? During the Lakers-Knicks game, he literally walked up to Stephen A. Smith courtside, mid-game, and started barking. He told him, "Stop asterisking with my son," and went on a rant that had security ready to jump in, because with the way he went at him, it could have escalated into something more dangerous. Imagine being a billionaire and getting that triggered because a reporter pointed out your son can't hit a jump shot. It's peak main character energy. And the fallout was even worse. Suddenly, anyone who wanted to keep their access had to fall in line. Draymond Green basically turned into a clutch PR bot overnight, trashing Stephen A. Smith on his podcast and refusing to speak to him. It's a protection racket, plain and simple. If you tell the truth about Bronny, you get blackballed. If you mention that Bronny's 2.3 points per game average is the reason the bench is failing, you're an op. So, everything we've talked about, the tunnel fight, the Jordan Brand grudge, and the Redick situation all collided on February 5th this year, the trade deadline. This was the day the Lakers officially admitted their Big Two was a total fantasy. While the rest of the league was loading up for the postseason, the vibes in LA were straight up radioactive. The front office was paralyzed and caught in this impossible trap. Do they make a move to save the season? Or do they keep protecting LeBron's family business? They ended up doing the most Laker thing possible and made a move that felt like a slap in the face to Luka. They shipped out Gabe Vincent for Luke Kennard. Think about the absolute disrespect there. Luka is out here playing 38 minutes a night, carrying a historic usage rate and practically begging for a defensive anchor. We already have Marcus Smart out there killing himself on defense, but he's one man. Luka needed more. He needed that veteran enforcer energy. The rumors were everywhere that Draymond Green was ready to pack his bags for LA in a blockbuster 3-team deal. But the Lakers blinked. They wouldn't move the you-know-who to make it happen. So instead of Draymond, Luka got Luke Kennard, another shooter to stand in the corner while he does all the heavy lifting. But if the trade deadline was the quiet death of the season, the All-Star voting was the public execution of LeBron's status. For the first time in 23 years, LeBron James was not voted as an All-Star starter. Let that sink in. The man who has been the face of the league since most of these 2026 rookies were in diapers was relegated to a reserve spot. And who was sitting at the top of the mountain? Luka Doncic. Luka didn't just make the team, he was the #1 overall vote getter in the entire world, pulling in over 3.8 million fan votes. He officially became the face of the NBA in LeBron's own city. The 2026 All-Star Game is being held at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, and the billboards aren't featuring the 41-year-old. They're featuring the 26-year-old Slovenian wearing Jordans. You can't tell me that doesn't eat LeBron alive. He spent his whole life being the alpha. Now he's watching the crown get snatched in real time by a guy who refused to join Team LeBron, refused to babysit his son, and is now officially more popular than him.